I'm Rob Tiongson,
And I'm Jeff Gordon.
and you're here on the Podium Finishes Hot Seat segment live from Circuit of the Americas on this Sunday, March 24th. Obviously, this will be pre-recorded and ahead of time, but we're excited to have Jeff once more in the hot seat. I think you've been on so many times, we pretty much call it the Jeff Gordon segment, don't you think?
Well, especially on March 24th. I like that. I didn't even think about that. But no, I'm always happy to join you on the show.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure to have you, Jeff. And let's actually talk more of the present stuff, and then we'll get to the fun past stuff.
Okay.
So obviously, you've been the vice chairman of Hendrick Motorsports since 2021, and I'm kind of curious, how have you adjusted to that role for the last 3-4 years after what you did in your racing career and working for Fox NASCAR?
Yeah, I mean, very fortunate to come into, a race team that's already well established, has great people in place, great management, great leadership with all the way, from what Rick Hendrick has put in place. So I get to walk into something that's not broken, right? My role is to, how do we maintain this very high level of competition, as well as giving as much return on investment back to our partners. Just continue to elevate as much as we can and keep this legacy that Rick has built alive. And so I'm having a blast. We've been very successful, and things are going really well. It's certainly been a huge education for me to be in this role versus being on the race team and now seeing all the different departments and all the people that it takes to make our organization, successful and the challenges that come along with that, but also having a great time with those challenges.
Now, how much would you say your driving experiences help out? Because you've got four young drivers, they're all very competitive. And oh, by the way, you know what that was like working with teammates when you were the young gun once before?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, being on a race team, especially as the driver, you realize just how important that very small group that you're working with on your race team, your crew chief, your engineers, your pit crew, mechanics, all those people, how important they are. But then you also get a good idea of the broader scope of it, of how important it is to share information and lean on your teammates and work with them, not just on the racetrack, but off the racetrack, and what Hendrick Motorsports has built with four teams and why they've been successful, and how all four teams working well together makes the whole organization, gives you a better opportunity to win individually, but also as a whole. That certainly has been valuable experience for me to have, so I can relate that back to our current drivers and crew chiefs and teams. But it also helps me look at how we work together, how we work as an organization, and understand that can sometimes be very challenging as well. There's positives, but some days it can work against you as well, and how to manage them.
Isn't it almost like having a family with two kids like you have in your house?
Yeah, definitely. You're not always going to get along, but your family, and you realize that that dynamic can be challenging at times, and you got to work hard at it. But you also know that when you're working together and working in the same direction, that brings in a lot of harmony to it as well.
Absolutely, and there's no better person to know all that stuff but you, Jeff, because the racing side, the business side for sure. And I know back in the 90s, you and Dale, you guys were great partners with businesses and growing the sport. And the sport's going through another resurgence in popularity. How important is a thing like the full speed documentary on Netflix and just everything you see on social media?
100%. And it's not just one thing, right? It's multiple different things. It's getting our drivers, not just the Hendrick drivers, but all the drivers in the sport, getting them out there, making sure that people know who they are, their personalities, what they're doing on the racetrack. You want to have somebody to love, somebody to hate, but you want to keep people engaged and understanding the nuances and the ins and the outs of the races, the race teams, the personalities behind it. And I think Netflix has done a great job of showcasing that to a broader audience than what we need, what we're used to. But you got to also reach out and make sure you're staying connected to the core fans too. So yeah, a combination of all those things. We need more star power, and we need our drivers to show their personalities on and off the racetrack. And that's what we talk about at Hendrick Motorsports with our guys all the time is representing those brands that are your partners, but also connecting with the fans and trying to bring new fans into the sport.
Certainly, and I think the social media game for you guys has really gone up so many levels because you guys have so much fun with like the Google searches or like doing like these little fun things. Like, did William say that, or
Yeah.
whose idea was that?
Yeah, our content team and our social team has really stepped up the game. We put a lot of energy and focus into that, and it's paying off. And our drivers are seeing the benefits of it. Our teams, our partners, and so they're embracing it. And so when you see those things working, then and you see the numbers come along with it of people that are seeing it and viewing it and clicking on it, then that means that you need to do more of it. And so it's nice to see our guys and gals and everybody involved embracing that and doing some unique things that make it stand out.
You're doing that too because during the Super Bowl, you're like, "Go San Francisco 49ers!" I love seeing that.
Well, I have been a longtime 49ers fan. I had an opportunity to take my daughter to her first Super Bowl and enjoy that together, even though our team didn't win. And I had to deal with Boyer again with his Kansas City Chiefs. But, our social team said, "Hey, while you're there, could you please do a social post?" I'm like, happy to, because I'm enjoying being at the Super Bowl and cheering for my Niners.
Could you imagine if your younger self had all of this going on in the 90s and having like the social media things that we have today back in 1997, 98?
Whew. Yeah, it's been a different world for sure. I mean, we were working hard to try to get in front of as much media and viewers as possible, and I think the sport did a great job with what we had to work with back then. But it'd have been a whole different ball game. I would have liked it. I would have enjoyed that back then because it's a better way to connect with your fans. You get instant gratification, but also instant feedback, good and bad. And it certainly would have. I think our sport would have been extremely popular with social media or without it.
Sure. Now let's actually talk about the past now in conjunction with the 40th anniversary of Hendrick Motorsports. And believe it or not, Jeff, I hate to say this, it's been 30 years since your first 2 victories in the Cup Series, but how pivotal was it to get the Coke 600 win at Charlotte and the Brickyard 400 win, the hometown victory, in the seminal moment of your career?
Yeah, I think there are several pivotal moments in my career. I mean, getting aligned with Rick Hendrick and Hendrick Motorsports, bringing Ray Evernham into that, building the 24 team to what we did in 1994, winning the Brickyard 400. But that first win at the 600, such a big race, a huge moment and opportunity in my career and our career with what was to come from that. It just told us. It solidified us of, hey, we're here, we can compete at the highest level against the best, and we can win at the highest level. And it just gave us a lot of confidence that we were moving and doing things right and in the right direction. And I think that's what allowed us to go win the championship in 95. And kind of from there, the rest is history, I guess.
Another milestone I'm going to bring up, because I might as well bring it up while we're here. It's been 25 years since that daring pass in the Daytona 500. And I've always wondered what went through your mind when you went on the apron and saw Ricky Rudd's car slow, but you knew you had to get past Rusty and Mike Skinner.
Yeah, I mean, at the time I was sort of setting up that move off of turn 4, and I think it had been building for a couple laps of just the push and the pull of the aerodynamics and the draft at that time. But I saw that building a couple laps before that, and so I just tried to plan a run off of turn 4 to make that move through the tri-oval, because it's a lot harder to block that move if you're the leader of which way the car behind you is going to go. And so I kind of went high and they moved high and I went low and got the opportunity and got the opening. I had no idea that there was going to be a car rolling on the apron slow, and that was Ricky Rudd, but I also knew that was my moment, right? And I could not back out of it. I just had to thread the needle, and maybe it looked a little closer and tighter on TV. I mean, I definitely clinched for a second there, but when I saw the opening was there, I knew I just had to stay in the gas. And back then, they didn't have the rules that they have today, where you can't go below the yellow line onto the apron. So you used every bit of real estate on the racetrack you could, and I had the run, I had the real estate. I just had to make sure I got between Ricky Rudd and I think it was Bill Elliott at the time.
It was, and that was a crazy race. You made my 13-year-old self panic attack at the house, but when you made it through, I was just like, okay, Jeff, just hold off Dale Earnhardt, and that's the worst person to have right behind you.
Well, it is. He's the best on those types of racetracks. I learned a lot from him over the years, and I was able to apply that to a certain degree. We had a great race car, got got in position, and yeah, it was, I knew that I had to take everything that I had ever learned up to that point and apply it to hold him off, and certainly was nervous. I wasn't gonna celebrate until we crossed the start finish line and had the checkered flag waving, and fortunately we were able to do that.
For sure. I know you have to get going soon this race day, but for my last question, and hope we get to catch up a little bit later on if we can. Now,
Hopefully in victory lane.
oh, I would love that. For sure, off the record. Obviously, Hendrick Motorsports has given so much to you with fame and celebrity, but I'm just kind of curious from a candid perspective, what has Mr. H, this organization, given to you that you could never conceive back in 1992?
I mean, besides the 93 wins and the 4 championships, it's changed my life. Rick has been like family to me and has, opened up so many doors and opportunities for me, for my family. The life that we have today is all because of Rick giving this young kid a chance, back in 1992, if you want to be technical, when it all started. And just embrace that for all these years, and now having the trust and faith in me to be the vice chairman, be partners with him on the automotive side as well as the motorsports side. That's a dream come true for any kid, but it's been really, really special to have the relationship I've had with Mr. and Mrs. Hendrick and the whole Hendrick family. And I take this responsibility very serious and put a lot of work and effort into it because, I want to see Hendrick Motorsports shine and thrive for the next 40 years.
I'm sure it will, and if it has the excellence seal of Jeff Gordon, it's going to have that done. So, again, Jeff, thank you so much for the time today.
Thank you.
I know you're a busy guy, but let's catch up a little bit later on this year, maybe after Victory Lane, but hopefully later on this year.
Perfect.
Thanks so much, Jeff.